Welcome to Obsidian TTRPG tutorials.com. Let's learn how to use the tool. Alright, g'day guys and welcome back tonight to another Obsidian video. We're going to start with an apology tonight. This is going to get rough. Had a lot of demand for a tutorial on the CLI TTRPG convert program that we use to create lots and lots of notes very quickly and efficiently, but unfortunately, from the perspective of an Apple user. Now, I'm a Windows user, through and through, but the things I'm willing to do for a good tutorial, I tell you what. We've got Apple working, and it only took me like 12 hours, maybe longer, to get the CLI process working. It took me a full 20 minutes to make a text file. Yeah, that happened. You can't just right click on an Apple and go, create me a text file. No. There was a tutorial on how to set up a robot and how to do it for me. Some sort of automation thing. Text files should be pretty easy to make, guys. Windows, you just right click, new, text file, done. So easy. Anyway, let's do this. Let's jump in. Learn how to use the Obsidian TTRPG CLI convert program from an Apple OS X perspective. I can't guarantee you this process is going to work perfectly, because it did not work perfectly for me, but let's see how we go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is open up Safari, which is apparently a web browser, and we're going to want to find the 5e Tools, the TTRPG Convert CLI site. Alright, so that should be as easy as going into some sort of search and typing Obsidian TTRPG CLI convert. Google will do its thing. It'll bring up obviously this link here from Ubilient. She is the developer of the TTRPG convert CLI program. It's a fantastic tool, by the way. If you're looking for someone to donate some coffee to, she is certainly worthy for the effort she puts into this tool for us. It is amazing. Once you're in here though, there is a README file, and you really should take the time to read through this README, guys. It's what I've used tonight to get this far. Now, at the top of this README is this handy little table that says, what platform am I on? All right, we're going to go through the Mac perspective tonight, and I'm going to use the Brew method. All right. I think historically on Windows, I just download the actual configured executable. We're going to be doing something a little bit different tonight, and every single version of these seems to be a little bit different in their own ways. But we're going to come into a Mac, whether you're running on an Intel or a ARM. I don't know what an ARM is. I assume it's some sort of CPU that they're running on maybe. We're going to click Brew. Alright, that will take us to the tutorial for this. And you can see here there's some instructions on what we need to do. So first thing, let's install Brew. Now, Brew to me, coming from Australia, sounds like something we go down the pub for. If I'm honest, Brew is a drink. Go down, have a yarn, have a bit of a drink. But in this case, in Apple, Homebrew, or Brew as I see it's been commonly referred to, seems to be some sort of application installation repository thing where you can basically get packages of apps installed. All right. There's instructions on how to install this. And I think I just did this. All right. Just press the copy button. That's probably easier. All right. Come through, paste that into the macOS terminal. All right. And then it will basically execute. So if we do that, we click terminal. I'm just going to actually restart this. We'll click terminal with a brand new one. We'll go right click, paste. All right. That gets us that thing that we just installed. Press enter. All right, it's going to ask us for a password. I think I've stuffed that up. I did. There we go. It says this script will install, right? So you press enter to do it. I'll go through and let that happen. I don't think I need to go through and let this happen. I have done this already. But at least just for the sake of the video, we can go through and redo some of this. I won't do everything. All right, it goes through and does its install, and then at the end it comes back here and it says Obsidian at Obsidian test. Now that's my user ID for this computer, right? So it's going to have your user ID on there to say that it's done. All right, so we've installed Homebrew. We can basically now shut that down. All right, we'll now go back. All right, then it says install the tap. I have no idea what a tap is. I assume that's where the brew comes out, but you know, it's a confusing process, this. We right click paste. Nope, that didn't work. Let's try that again. Copied. I'll start again. Right click paste. There we go. So brew tap ubilient dash tap. That goes through and does some sort of install. Now, I think I got pretty damn well stuck here, if I'm honest. And it's worth noting how I got out of it. Brew list. We're going to do the next step. Just come back here, install the CLI. Alright. I assume the tap's where the stuff comes out of, where this is what's going to come out of the tap maybe. But we come back here, we right click, we paste, and we press enter. And this installs the TTRPG convert CLI. Now, you can see that I've actually already got it installed. So it's saying, do you want to reinstall it? Yours isn't going to say that, it's going to go through and do it. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you this though, is that once you're here, if you type in brew list, it will actually generate a list of the applications that are installed in your brew. And what I'm looking for here is TTRPG convert CLI. Okay, so I can see that that is now installed, and that is an easy way to do it. All right, I'll give you that. Once you're in here and got this working, it's quite nice. Now, what we can do is we can type in TTRPG -convert -help. Oh, I spelled that completely wrong. -convert //help. All right, now assuming that you've got the TTRPG convert tool installed, this should come up with the help file. All right, and we can see here that that's exactly what's happened. That has installed the help file, so that is fantastic. Okay, so now that we've got that installed, we've got the TTRPG tool actually functioning and working. This is where, like, this README, I got to admit, kind of threw me off, because, you know, where do you go from here? It says go to conventions and you read about how this works, but you are still very much missing the 5e tools data.json at this point. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to install that. All right, now there's a command here for installing that, so we're going to do a git clone at a depth of 1, and we're going to install it from here. Now, where I got stuck was where to install it. Okay. You really sort of need to make sure that you know where things are going to go. And it took me a while to find my way around Windows OS to figure out, not Windows OS, Mac OS, to figure out where this needed to go. And it wasn't until I'd done some testing and brought the data in that I started to figure it out. Now, let's see if I can do this. If we open up the go to computer, go to your hard drive, users, and I've got this profile name here. I assume you'll have your profile name. And in here is where I saw some stuff that looked familiar. Now, you can see I've got some folders here that people who watch my previous videos may recognize. Okay. I found that by basically coming through to having my stuff in here, the brew seems to be able to work. All right, so I assume it's pointing at this folder. I'm not 100% sure on this, and Ubilliant and other macOS users may watch this later and laugh at me and yell at me and say I've done the wrong thing. I'll have to redo the video, but I'm pretty sure this is where everything goes. So with that mindset, what I did is I came in here, and we would basically go new terminal at folder. All right, and here we can then paste that command. And you can see it's going to do a clone at a depth of 1, all right, and off it goes. Now, I don't want to do this because I've already got this, and that would break everything for me, all right, because I've got that here. And this is quite a large download, Okay, it took me quite a long time to download that file. It errored out numerous times. Now, I think my errors were related to the fact that the way I'm doing this today won't have anything to do with you. I think most people should have a lot easier time than I did. But you want to go ahead and download that 5e Tools website into your profile folder, all right? And then I've also done the same with the TTRPG Convert CLI website, all right? So get this one, do the git clone, wait for it to finish. It should create that folder in there for you. And then what I would do is actually grab this same, well, probably just this bit here, the start. I would then go in and run this again in the same folder, right? So from your profile folder, right click and go open, I can't remember what they're called, open terminal. All right, so open terminal from your profile, new terminal folder. All right, we'll right click paste, get rid of this. But what you want to do is actually come back to your Safari, find the TTRPG convert site and go to the top of level of that, grab the URL and then paste that in the back here. Alright, and then what I did is, I think, oh no, that should be it, right? So go from there. Alright, press go, and what that's going to do is that's going to create a copy of the 5e Tools GitHub on your site as well, on your computer, sorry. So if we have a look in your profile folder, you should end up with a 5e Tools mirror, 1.github.io, and a ttrpg/convert/ci. Now let's just quickly talk about these folders, all right? And if I'm going too quick for you, I have a video of 6 series of videos on this process, right? We're largely doing exactly the same thing, all right? The concept is the same. We're getting the 5e Tools folder installed where we need it, all right? And this has a data folder that contains all of the JSON files that contain the content that we need to use, all right? That's why we're using this. The TTRPG Convert CLI specifically has examples that we're interested in, all right? There are templates that we can use to change the output of our notes. There are config file examples which can be used to tell the tool what sources you want to download, all right? So if you're playing 5e and you want more than the SRD, you can edit in there. And then there's the CSS snippets that get used once you're actually in Obsidian. All right, we can worry about all of that later. All right, but anyway, we've got those 2 folders. We've got the 5e Tools, we've got the TTRPG Convert. Technically, you will not have these. Can you not just delete stuff? Move to bin. Is that delete? There we go, move to bin. It's like learning to walk again, guys. All right, so we've got that one installed. Technically, you don't need that one for the bit that I'm about to show you how to do, but let's go through and get our first test going, okay? Now, to do this, what we do is we're going to open up a terminal, a brand new terminal. Let's just keep it clean. All right, so we're going to go open terminal. All right, again, we're going to test to make sure that everything is working how we expect it to go. So we can do ttrpg-convert-help. All right, if this returns the help file, then it's working. Okay, it's finding that application's been installed in your Brew and you're ready to rock and roll. All right, so we've done that once. We can now press up and that will come back. Let's put the index file in. All right, so instead of --help, we're going to go --index. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do a -o, not 0, O, and we're going to go, let's put it into DM. All right, that's the folder name that most of us have used through the other tutorials. So -o stands for output, right? It's the output folder, and then the DM is the name of the folder. I could name this DM whatever I want, right? And it would call the folder Roger Rabbit. All right, that's all that is. And sometimes when I run it, I like to increment this. All right, I'll go DM1 and DM2 and DM3 as I go through and do my testing. So I've got copies of those files and folders there, so I can continue to do that. All right, so we've got that in place now. And the last thing that we need to do is actually tell it where the data is. Now, this is where it got completely confusing. You can see that we've got 5e tools dash mirror. So if we go 5e tools dash mirror dash 1.github.io/data. Now, where I was getting a lot of errors is I wasn't operating in this folder. All right, so while I'd managed to run the entire CLI tool and I was getting the help file, I didn't have the clone of the 5e tools website in the right folder for it to run. So it had no idea where it was, and I really struggled with that, to be completely honest. So I figured out where it goes now. Hopefully this will work. Otherwise, it'll be looking really bad for the video. But let's have a go. All right, we've pressed go. It's reading something. It's finished reading the config. It's finished reading the data. It's now writing those files, and look at that. There we go. Look at those lovely emojis. I can see you, Brilliant, sitting back, rubbing our paws together, going, haha, you finally ran it with emojis. Don't they look amazing? Yes, they do. They look really cool. All right, so it's run. It's come back to this command line, which is usually what happens when there's no command. It's waiting for a prompt. All right, but it's created a DM folder. It's got a compendium, and it's got the rules folder. All right, we've got the index files that were created that show everything that was made or available with this. All right, but technically we're here now. All right, these files could be dragged into your Obsidian folder and they would work. Now, just a reminder, in case this is the first time you're watching this video, the order that these go in. This folder here that is presented here is meant to go at the root of your Obsidian vault. All right, so it's meant to be a top level folder in your Obsidian vault. So there would be a compendium and a rules. All right, now we can change that, there is a way, but just a reminder that the recommendation is that you treat all CLI notes as a blob. All right, what that effectively means is you don't change them. Okay, you're meant to put them into the folders that they started with. You're meant to put those folders directly into Obsidian, and you're meant to leave them. All right, don't edit those individual notes. Don't move them. Don't try and change the links. All right, now I've met a few people that have come along and said, don't be silly, I want to make these mine, I'm going to modify them. Those people have always come back afterwards and gone, I made a mistake. Okay, they are designed to go together. The CLI tool is also designed to have all of the content that you need run at once as one major blob. So don't go through and do this for the player handbook and then go through and do it again for the Dungeon Master Guide. You need to do it for the player handbook and the Dungeon Master Guide and any other content that you own and want to use at the same time. All right, while we're there, we will say, please do not use this tool for anything other than the content that you own. Do not come and ask for support for any content that you do not own. All right, we're only here to actually make it easier for us to use the content that we own in the digital tool that we like. Nothing to do with getting free content. But with that said, keep it as a blob, keep it together. And the reason why is that all the links are hard-coded. All right, all the linking within notes, that's all hard-coded. And if you change things, you're going to break that. But also, it's very designed to basically link everything together at the same time. Now, if you have the player handbook included in your download with all the other books, then all the other books, wherever they mention links to player handbook rules, will link to the player handbook rules. All right, if you don't include the player handbook, then none of those things will link. All right, so you've got to have it all together as a package when you run it. Now, also, the reason why we say lock it and don't touch it is because the tool gets updated quite regularly, and you want to be in a position to refresh these notes with the latest changes. All right, I've probably put CLI notes in my vault probably 12 times at this point, let's say, right? I've refreshed those notes 12 times. And the benefit of me not touching those notes is I can just copy over the new version of those notes, replacing the existing ones. I get the full refresh of the update. Everything that was originally linked is still working, and it's not broken anyway. I have a separate folder on the side for making my own monsters, making my own rules, making my own items, all right? I have a lock symbol on my CLI tool in my vault, and I do not change it after that fact. All right, anyway, we've just run the tool. We've now got the DM folder. And for anyone who's good with their 5e content, what we've done is we've created the 5e system reference document notes. That's what this does, all right? But let's jump in. We're going to take it one step further. We're going to show you how to do a config file, all right, so you can really get on your way to using this tool properly. All right, so config files. Now, remember before we went through and we created this, all right, which is a Git clone of the TTRPG Convert CLI website, all right, the GitHub site. If we go in here and have a look at examples and go into config, we can have a look here at a config.5e.json. All right, if we open that up, we get an example config file. All right, what I've done is I've copied this. Don't try to right click and go new text file, guys. Pro tip, MacOS doesn't do that. 20 minutes I lost, 20 minutes. But anyway, right click, copy, and we're going to bring that back to this level. All right, so we're inside of our profile, and we're going to right click and we're going to paste it into here. Now, we then open that version and we can make our changes. Now, I've cleaned mine up. All right, and what I might do actually is I'm going to bring open this one here. Put them side by side just so we can see the difference. All right, so this is the one on the right that's been provided as an example. All right, and the benefit of this example is it kind of shows you all the elements of a config file. All right, so on the right, we have all the elements. On the left, we have the changes that we've made. Let's just break through, though, and have a look at what we need. All right, the from section. The from section is going to create the items, the things that you want in your world. All right, so if a book contains a bunch of items, a bunch of monsters, this is the thing that's going to pull that out. It's going to say, give me all the monsters, give me all the items, give me all the spells. So whatever you put up here, that's what it's going to do. So you can see over here, I've put the 3 books that I own, Player Handbook, Dungeon Master Guide, and Monster Manual. I've put them here. And just a reminder that there's a source map on the official document site that you can use to figure out the codes you need to put in here for different content that you own. All right, then we've got the paths. The path says this is where we want to install everything. Now, the first version we did kind of comes in like this, right? It puts one folder for compendium, one folder for rules. All right, what I usually do is I'll go --mechanics and then CLI. All right, because I like to have everything in that sort of structure in my vault. And then this one down here, what I'll do is I'll go --mechanics /CLI. All right, so that way they both end up in the --mechanics, they both end up in the CLI folder, the rules are in a rules folder, and everything else is in the folder associated with what they get. All right, then we have a look over here. There was an include section, some exclude sections. I personally don't have a lot of use for this. The reason this has been included is for things like you've gone to dmsguild.com, DM's Guild? Yeah, no. D&D Beyond. Wow, it's late. D&D Beyond, and you've bought like individual items. What this does is it lets you include the individual items that you've purchased. Okay, so it's quite clever that it's letting you get the legal content that you own. But I don't need that. I don't tend to buy individual items. I've bought everything, right? I just go like, give me the book. I want the book, so I'll get the book. So I take all that out. I don't need it. All right, but then we get down to templates. Templates are important, and you can see here that I've added some extra ones in. All right, we've got the background template that's being used here. We don't really want the background template. So if we come over here and we have a look at everything that's available, right? I've got a monster, background, item, race, and spell. And if we come back to our Finder and we have a look in our examples folder, all right, so just a reminder, it's from TTRPG Convert CLI into here, into examples, into templates, tools 5e. All right, there's all these different ones here. Now, one of the most common issues I see with people is that they come in here expecting Fantasy Stat Blocks plugin to work. Just a reminder that Ubullion is the developer of this application, does not use Fantasy Stat Blocks. She actually uses Admonitions, all right, which is another plugin created by the excellent Javelin. But effectively what that means is that it doesn't use the really fancy layout. She's created her own custom callouts effectively through the Admonitions plugin. Now, most of us don't need that. We don't use that, right? So we can effectively go over and change it. Now, if you want to use the monster stat blocks, you need to change over to a different template. All right, so I think the default is monsters 2MD, all right, one of those ones. But what you probably want to do is move over to this monster 2MD. I recommend the one with the body in it, right? Because you can either store the data for the monster in the header, aka in the properties of the note, all right, or you can store it in the body. Now, I like to store it in the body. All right, so monster 2MD, YAML, stat block, body, that's what this is all about. And if we come back to here, you can see what I've done is I've got the monster under template, and then I'm linking to where that is found, okay? So again, it's in the same folder where everything is running. I guess you could say this is our bin folder, all right, but it's not quite. In this case here, we're coming through and we're telling it how to get to that path, all right? So if we look down here, we're starting in Obsidian Nest test. All right, then we go TTRPG Convert CLI, examples, templates, tools 5e. All right, so that's the path. And then once we get there, we're putting the name of the template. All right, so it's the monster 2MD-YAML stat block -body -text. I've done that for all of the different templates that I want to use. Now, in my personal use case, and I've got a video on this on how to do templates in more detail, I've made changes to my templates myself. So I've got my own custom versions of these. All right, then we've got a trigger here for use dice roller. I've just left it true for this video. I don't use it, so I changed it to false. A tag prefix. Honestly, don't know what that's for. I need to check the README. The full source. Do we want to include any full sources? In this case, do we want to include an adventure? Yes, we're going to include the Lost Mines of Found Delver. And yes, we're going to include a book called Player Handbook. Now, just a reminder, if you're using my Patreon Vault, it does require you to use the Player Handbook as a full source. A very common error I see people doing is they put the Player Handbook up here, and then some of the links don't work. All right, it's because you actually need to have it under here in a book section. All right, but anyway, I digress. This is now a functional config file, okay? I would say that you need to save it, but I don't think that's a thing. You just close it, that's done. All right, so we've done that now. We can close out that one there. We can go back to our folder. All right, so our profile folder. And I'm pretty sure Ubillion's going to come along and go, what were you doing? You could just put this like in your own folder somewhere. I couldn't figure out how to do it, guys. I'll update the video at some point if I figure it out. All right, so we're now ready to run the TTRPG tutorial process again. If we go back to our terminal. I've got to get the terminology right. Press up, we can bring that back in. All right, and what we actually need to do here is now add an extra command. So if we press back, we want to get before the data. Get back to here. We're going to type /c for config. And then what we actually need to do is type the name of this config file. All right. So in this case here, the config file is called config.5e.json. So config.5e.json space. All right, we'll get to the end. And what we've now done is we're saying run the TTRPG convert process, create index files, output to a DM folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this for the sake of having a little bit of a different output. All right, then /c says use a config file. The config.5e.json is the name of the config file, which must be in the right folder. And then we're telling it where the data is. Okay, so if we come back to here, press go, and let it do its thing. Let's see what happens. Did I make any mistakes? That is the question. Nope, we're finished reading the config, we're finished reading the data, we're now writing the files. We're getting a whole heap of errors tonight. I don't think this is potentially due to something that I've done. I think there's just an issue with one of the sources that I'm using. I don't know, I've not seen that before. But down here, it's written all of these notes. And look how nice it looks when you've got those little tick files. All right, so that is done. If we now go back to Finder, have a look in DM, you can see it's in the DM2. You can see it's now in the 2-mechanics in the CLI folder. All right, and we're now ready to rock and roll. So next step from here, we move over and we put this in Obsidian. Okay, so we have a very brand new vault. Obviously this is not my normal vault. All I've done is basically come in and create some new folders. And some notes I don't need. Alright, so I've created the 2-mechanics folder. I've created the CLI folder within that. And what I can do is basically reveal in Finder. Alright, which means I've now got a folder with a CLI folder. If I bring my other Finder up, no, is that not how it works? Oh, there it is. Alright, we're in 2-mechanics CLI, and I've got everything here. Can you like select all in this tool? I'm just going to highlight everything. I'm going to drag it down into my new CLI. And if I go back to Obsidian now, expand this out, you can see that that all now exists. Alright, now there's still some things that need to be turned on here for this to work, and I've gone through that in another video, so I'm not going to go through it now. But you do need to go through and obviously do the required plugins and the required settings. Geez, look at the graph view go as it like has a bit of a hissy fit over all the new links that are coming. That's how you break your graph view, people, with CLI tool. But there we go. We have now literally run through a very quick explanation of how to use a brew using a tap with the CLI process. I couldn't make this stuff up, I tell you what. It's pretty easy to do. I do like the way this works. I cannot stand the Apple. I'm going to throw this out as soon as I'm done. But it works. So hopefully that helps some of you understand this process a bit better. And you brilliant, when you watch this, I apologize for making an absolute hack and slash of this. Please let me know whatever changes I need to make. All right, outside of that, I want to say thanks for watching, guys. Hope you do enjoy the content. If you do enjoy the content, please do like and subscribe using the buttons below. Outside of that, if you would like to learn more about how to use Obsidian, please head on over to www.obsidianttrpgtutorials.com, where you can find way too many tutorials for you to sit and watch in a day, a week, probably even a month. So try not to binge watch them too quickly, because you will get a headache and you will go too far down the rabbit hole and probably get stuck. Outside of that, have a great day. Huge thanks to my Patreon supporters. Thank you, and I will speak to you on the socials. Enjoy.